San Francisco, the city's so nice you'll step in twice. There's an area where homeless people were urinating and defecating, and it was starting to annoy the people breaking into cars. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet. And this wasn't some magic toilet that catches your phone when you drop it. It's no wonder that in 2021, San Francisco issued only 2,000 permits for new homes. Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now.
Bill Maher has turned his focus to San Francisco, and his verdict on the city is ruthless. The outspoken comedian skewered Gavin Newsom and the city's mayor, Daniel Lurie, for hollowing out the once beautiful city. Maher's critique was sharp, ruthless, and straight to the point. So if you enjoy fiery takedowns, then smash the subscribe button and let's dive into it.
Francisco in the last few years has seen 11 Walgreens and 6 CVS stores just give up and close because that town seems simply beyond law, which is heartbreaking because I, like so many people, love that city, and I don't think it's corny to admit, yes, I left my heart in San Francisco. Also, my wallet and iPhone.
Maher is deeply concerned about how the city's security has been allowed to unravel over the past few years, and he doesn't sugarcoat it. He points to a culture of lawlessness that has taken root, where people feel bold enough to stroll into stores, grab whatever they want, and walk out without paying. No fear, no consequences. According to Maher, this isn't petty crime anymore. It's become routine, almost normalized. He also highlights the epidemic of car break-ins, describing how stationary, unoccupied vehicles are casually smashed into, rifled through, and left behind like disposable props in a broken system. To Maher, the real scandal isn't just the what's happening, but the silence and inaction surrounding it. When basic law and order breaks down, he argues, it sends a clear message. The city has stopped protecting the people who actually live, work, and play by the rules.
Bay Area citizens have been complaining in recent years about all the human feces in the streets, but now the streets are full of something else. They call it San Francisco snow. It's glass. Piles and piles of shattered glass everywhere from car windows being smashed. It's so routine to have this happen to any parked car that people purposefully leave the windows down and the glove compartment open so thieves can see there's nothing of value. Or they leave a note on the car politely assuring the thief that there's nothing worth stealing and please don't break the windows.
The situation has deteriorated so badly that it forces you to ask an obvious question. Why is this kind of behavior so rampant in San Francisco and other major cities across California? Maher points directly to state law as the root of the problem. Under current policies, stealing anything valued under $1,000 is treated as a minor offense, often with little to no real consequence. According to Maher, that threshold didn't just soften the law, it practically advertised an open invitation. Criminals know the rules, they know the limits, and they exploit them with confidence. The result is predictable. Theft becomes routine, enforcement becomes optional, and accountability disappears. Maher argues that when the law signals leniency, it emboldens bad behavior rather than deterring it. Instead of protecting ordinary citizens and business owners, the system ends up shielding repeat offenders, creating a cycle where crime is effectively encouraged.
What is so disturbing here is not just that there's more crime and mayhem, it's the audacity of it all. Like there's no lines anymore that can't be crossed. Like don't walk on a stage during a live show.
The audacity might be the most disturbing part of all this madness. In San Francisco, Maher argues, there are no lines left to cross because the lines no longer exist. People don't sneak, they don't hide, and they don't look over their shoulders. They act openly and confidently as if the city itself has given them permission. Walk into a store, grab what you want, walk out. Smash a car window, rummage through it, move on. There's no urgency, no fear, no hesitation, just increasingly open lawlessness carried out in public. According to Maher, this confidence isn't accidental, it's learned behavior. When consequences disappear, boldness takes their place. And once that mindset spreads, it infects everything. Businesses retreat, residents grow numb, and chaos starts to feel routine. That's what makes the situation so alarming. Not just the crime itself, but the normalization of it.
Police still need reform, yes, but we can't just allow them to be hunted and targeted for assassination, as has happened over 100 times in 2021. I know there are big issues behind crime, like income inequality and racism that need to be addressed. But let's not get so wrapped up in becoming great again or building back better that we forget not to become El Salvador.
Here, Maher makes a blunt case for strengthening and empowering the San Francisco Police Department, arguing that the city cannot restore order while keeping law enforcement on a short leash. For years, he notes, officers have continued doing their jobs with professionalism and efficiency, even as morale and resources have been steadily eroded. Yet instead of support, the police have become a political punching bag for progressive activists. Calls to defund the police, Maher argues, didn't just make headlines, they had real consequences. Budget cuts, staffing shortages, and reduced enforcement followed, leaving officers stretched thin and reluctant to act aggressively. The message was clear. Do less, intervene less, risk less. According to Maher, that vacuum didn't stay empty for long. It was quickly filled by criminals who sensed hesitation. You can't demand public safety, he insists, while simultaneously undermining the very people tasked with providing it.
San Francisco, the city's so nice you'll step in twice. There's an area where homeless people were urinating and defecating, and it was starting to annoy the people breaking into cars. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet. And this wasn't some magic toilet that catches your phone when you drop.
Maher then pivots from security to sanitation, and his tone doesn't soften one bit. He brings up the now infamous poop problem that has come to symbolize San Francisco's deeper dysfunction. According to Maher, you don't need a guided tour to encounter it. Just take a walk near the subways, under flyovers, or along downtown sidewalks, and you're almost guaranteed to come back with at least one horror story. It's become so common that locals barely flinch anymore. Maher links this crisis directly to the city's unchecked homelessness problem, arguing that officials have confused compassion with neglect. Instead of enforcing basic standards of public health, the city has allowed public spaces to deteriorate severely. For Maher, this isn't just gross, it's a failure of governance. A city that can't keep its streets clean, he argues, is a city that has stopped taking itself seriously.
And a private company took pity on San Francisco and offered to build them their toilet for free. But after, quote, project management, construction management, architecture and engineering fees, permits, civic design review, surveys, contract preparation, and cost estimation, the free toilet was still going to cost almost $1 million. You know, if you tack on fees like that, you're not a city, you're an airline.
Maher then doubles down on what he sees as the real disease eating away at California, bureaucracy. To illustrate just how broken the system has become, he points to an almost absurd example. A single public toilet meant to help address San Francisco's ongoing poop problem was projected to cost a staggering $1.7 million. Not a luxury project, not a space-age facility, just a toilet. And it gets worse. Even when a private company stepped in and offered to build it for free, the city still claimed the final cost would approach nearly $1 million. Why? Permits, regulations, consultants, reviews, committees. According to Maher, this is California governance in a nutshell. Good intentions buried under endless red tape. The system no longer prioritizes solving problems quickly or efficiently. Instead, it sustains its own processes. And until that bureaucratic maze is dismantled, Maher argues, no amount of money or compassion will fix what's broken.
Feels like San Francisco is actually proud of being impossible. Asked about the toilet, a spokesman for the Department of Public Works said, "We are a city of public input." Okay, but I'm stepping in public output. Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits. 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a t-shirt that says federal suspect.
Maher argues that San Francisco has become nearly impossible to run because of its leadership, from Gavin Newsom all the way down to Mayor Daniel Lurie. In his view, these politicians haven't just mismanaged the city, they've engineered a system that actively blocks progress. Layer upon layer of rules, committees, and approvals have created bottlenecks that choke off almost every form of development in California. Housing stalls, infrastructure drags on for years, and even the simplest projects collapse under procedural weight. According to Maher, nothing moves unless it's debated to death first. The result is a city where problems are endlessly discussed but rarely solved. Streets get dirtier, crime feels more brazen, and costs spiral out of control. Maher's frustration isn't just ideological, it's practical. When leadership prioritizes optics and ideology over results, he argues, governance turns dysfunctional. And in San Francisco, that dysfunction has become the norm rather than the exception.
It's no wonder that in 2021, San Francisco issued only 2,000 permits for new homes. Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now.
That's a sharp, unflinching critique from Maher, aimed squarely at Gavin Newsom and Daniel Lurie for what he calls their robotic approach to California's development. In Maher's view, these leaders seem trapped in rigid routines, unable or unwilling to rethink policies, adapt to new challenges, or respond creatively to the city's growing crises. He argues that their inflexibility has contributed directly to San Francisco's gradual decline, as problems from crime to homelessness to infrastructure decay multiply without effective solutions. According to Maher, the city is not just struggling, it's visibly deteriorating, and its leaders seem frozen, incapable of imagining a viable path to revival. Instead of bold action, they rely on procedures, committees, and incremental tweaks that accomplish little. For Maher, this isn't just poor governance, it reflects serious leadership failure. A city can only survive when leaders are willing to confront reality head on, and right now he sees no evidence that Newsom or Lurie are prepared to do that.
So let me finish with this. Not that there was ever any reason to build it in the first place, and not that there would be any reason to do it again, but just as an exercise in realizing how far we've regressed as the can-do people, I think we should all try to imagine how it will go down if we tried to sculpt Mount Rushmore out of a mountain today. First, we'd have to make the mountain handicap accessible, so we could hire handicapped people to work on the side of a mountain. Then there'd be a 10-year delay while we studied the effect of construction noise on the mating habits of woodchucks. Then another 10 years to obtain ethically sourced dynamite. And find a sculptor who doesn't only work from home.
In the end, Maher paints a grim picture of San Francisco, a city once admired for its beauty, innovation, and vibrancy, now struggling under crime, homelessness, and bureaucracy. From theft and car break-ins emboldened by state laws to streets littered with human waste, the social fabric of the city seems fraying. Maher doesn't just blame circumstances, he calls out leadership. Gavin Newsom, Daniel Lurie, and other city officials are portrayed as inflexible, procedural, and paralyzed by bureaucracy, unable to act decisively or think creatively to solve the city's mounting problems. He also warns that weakening the police and piling endless red tape on development projects have compounded the crises, leaving citizens and businesses to fend for themselves. Yet Maher's critique is more than despair, it's a call to action. A city can be revived, he insists, but only if leadership returns to pragmatism, enforces law and order, and cuts through the suffocating bureaucratic maze holding San Francisco hostage.